son, as a resident of Oregon and a single father of two, I am off to go purchase some methamphetamines. Can I get you something? Son? Son, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, son? So continuing on this spooky season of movie reviews, we are going to be tackling yet another creepy take on the monster genre. It seems to just be a dying breed. I don't know why, I just remember growing up and always constantly seeing a bunch of monster movies. The most we get to really see are reboots of classic titles. As fun as it is to see them again, part of me is just craving new monsters. But as it so happens, in the world of obscure underground movies, this is a movie that I got to watch a few years ago, but I actually didn't know of this movie's entire existence at all. I literally found out about this movie's existence the day I watched it in theaters, I remember. I can't recall a time when I went into a movie theater this blind, but as it turns out, I was pleasantly surprised to an extent, as the most disturbing or most engaging aspects of this movie are actually what one would come to expect when attending a monster movie. So get your methamphetamines and family dysfunction ready. Those will make sense in a minute, and let's get right into Antlers. In an isolated Oregon town, a middle school teacher and her sheriff brother become entangled with her disturbed student, whose dark secrets lead to a terrifying encounter with an ancestral creature. And of course, monster spoilers. We're gonna get balls deep into this movie. Pause. We're gonna get knuckle deep into this movie. Pause. We're gonna get real deep into this one. For the first time in a while for a monster movie, I was actually more disturbed with the actual monster aspects of the movie. More so than typical horror movies that I reviewed here on the channel, which have been usually the themes or the messages or the symbols that these movies tend to say or show. I was actually more engrossed into learning more about the evil entity of this movie, more so than the themes of a broken or abusive household. I'll come back into those themes because I think they struck something different for me, but I'm still uncertain if I'm able to say that they struck a nerve of something I actually enjoyed or just found upsetting, which is actually kind of a rare occasion for me when it comes to monster movies or just any horror movies. It's a change of pace for me. This feels odd. So we established a small town in Oregon. First off, I actually got to visit Oregon a few years back around the time of this movie's release. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually shot on location because Oregon is beautiful. The thick foliage and the environment just provides a unique sense of isolation, one that you can say is very serene. There's a certain melancholy to it. There's a certain somberness in the air, one that other locations in the world cannot really capture, only here in the United States wilderness. So in the first act, we introduce the idea of fairy tales amongst a small town school, presenting what we would consider to be folk tales or just fairy tale stories. So it's pretty clear early on from, what's her name? Rebecca Ferguson? I swear, is that her name? Keri Russell? That's her name? Who's Rebecca Ferguson? Who am I thinking of? So it's pretty clear and suggested that this teacher character is going to be looking out for her very, very distressed looking students. And from there, my first issue really is the focus on this teacher character. I don't have anything against the actress. She's been in actually a lot of monster movies. I believe she was in this year's Cocaine Bear. Also Planet of the Apes. Man, she just seems to be in a lot of movies with anthropomorphic animals or animals with human traits. Very odd. About a third of the script wants to focus on her past and her past abuse in her childhood home with her brother, but honestly, I wasn't all that invested into it. More so because she was just absolutely overshadowed by this poor kid that is experiencing much more than abuse in his household. It was honestly losing my attention whenever we were just focusing on her character. Her brother character, by the way, played by Jesse Plemons, fuck you, Todd. He gave a very convincing performance as a cop who doesn't believe in any of the supernatural elements, who is trying to just establish the statistical probability and fact that would be happening in this town, who just absolutely gets his ass handed to him by the end. The main kid actor, Jeremy T. Thomas. I don't think I've ever seen a child actor display this level of a gaunt, disturbed, miserable being this convincing before. Even honestly, if he does look way too young to be playing a 12-year-old, I'm pretty sure they intentionally casted somebody who was younger than 12 years of age to make them look a lot more vulnerable and a lot more younger. And that is certainly a technique for casting overall. You may as well cast an 8 to 9-year-old kid instead of actually risking the health of an actual child actor. I am here editing right now, finding out more information about the actor. Turns out he has a condition that has him susceptible to smaller bone development and bone structure, making him appear smaller. He was 15 at the time. I wonder if he's going to be in any projects anytime soon, because holy moly, does he have a horror look to him. Absolutely. Most of the supporting characters here just get absolutely wrecked by what is supposed to be the creature in this movie. They actually try to ground it within native culture. In this case, that creature is the Wendigo, a shape-shifting spirit that consumes and takes over its host, branching out of its body like some sort of cocoon or some sort of parasite. It is unique, at least to me. I don't recall really ever seeing any type of movie to tackle this sort of supernatural creature before. But for the supporting cast, I feel like a majority of them just get absolutely destroyed by the Wendigo in the end, so their presence really isn't known. They're just simply there to be fodder. The only big one that stands out to me is just, of course, the cliche bully that has to pick on the damaged and vulnerable kid. What the fuck is wrong with kids? And honestly, he really did get murdered in a pretty satisfying fashion. That's not weird to say, right? Am I insane for saying that seeing a child get absolutely mutilated by a deer-like creature was satisfying? The most we do get in character development is between the teacher and this main boy, because she opens up to him and saying that she also grew up in a very abusive household, so that is their connection. That is why she is motivated to entangle herself in this big mess that, again, is bigger than abuse. I mean, shoot, the kid's father was a meth dealer and was even hinted at already being abusive towards his sons before getting infected by this creature. There is meth and Jesse Plemons. I mean, how can you not be reminded of Breaking Bad here? We don't got methamphetamines, Mr. White. Breaking Bad elements just splooged all over this movie, which I'm not gonna complain about. I'm sure you're wondering, how are the scares? Is this movie scary? Did this movie make me pee my pants? For me, the creepiness factor really came down to whenever we were getting exposition of how the native tribe culture is the origin of this creature. To me, that's engaging because there's just that little bit of percent in your brain, that little bit that tells you maybe this is something that can be real. Maybe this is something that has existed. Maybe this is something that still exists. Maybe this is going to be something that's still going to exist even after we're gone. Many of us will never ever believe it because many of us will never ever see it. And in this crazy world, who's to say that just because we never seen something, who's to say that it never existed? Lucas was the name of the kid. At least half the movie, we're seeing him just taking care of his infected father and younger brother from this creature by just feeding them small animals he finds on the road. Seeing this boy stuck in a situation where he has to come home every single day from school, feeling already isolated and alone enough, having to watch his only remaining family rot away as an entity of which he has no real idea what is, just consume and take over their bodies. It was just draining, and I felt like it was just too much. And seeing him keep all of this inside and not opening up about it to the adults around him, again, is very on the nose about what abusive households can really be like. Children that are afraid of what their guardians will do to them if they were to speak out about their horrid actions. That, I would say, really is the scariest aspect of this movie. Not just supernatural, oh, big monster scary, but legitimate fear, because this is something, again, that happens in real life. It just really bummed me out. Watching him do everything he possibly can, considering he's only a 12-year-old here and yet has the ability to do so many different tasks that a 12-year-old shouldn't be able to do. I mean, for anybody that grew up in Oregon, is this normal for 12-year-olds to be doing all these different tasks? He straight up does mechanical or hardware work. To a certain point, it just started to really push my system of disbelief because I just cannot believe that a 12-year-old kid is capable of doing all these tasks. Even if this was an urgent situation, I just cannot believe it. And why does this movie keep reminding me of Breaking Bad? I'm one who always loves depressing shit, but I feel like this movie just did it a bit too much for me. And just because you understand or grasp the concept that the movie is trying to tell you does not necessarily mean that you have to enjoy it. And for me, that does come back down to the teacher character. The constant push of this teacher wanting to look after this kid, even though, yes, he is her student, I just felt like it was just taking to such extreme lengths. Even if the two have shared a tragic home life, is that a real reason to be empathetic enough to risk your entire life? I don't know, that definitely is a heavy thinker. Let me know what you guys would do. And honestly, I felt like the movie was really trying to fall apart by the end. It just seemed like all the budget had gone away and they just resorted to just a very, very poorly choreographed, just big CGI fight scene. Honestly, a fairly bland, stagnant CGI fight scene, if anything. You think they would have just gone big and bold with it in the end, but it just ended up feeling underwhelming. I don't know, maybe I'm just still annoyed by just how much plot armor this teacher character had in the end. It just made that final fight scene just feel so weak. Pretty mixed for sure, but hey, here I am talking about it years later because I remember it and it stuck with me. 6 out of 10, real depressing scenarios with sprinkles of decent monster madness. I just hope I'm able to provide you all with new perspectives or just new titles to go explore yourselves, because there are so many movies that are just overlooked every single year. And I don't think it's fair to the cast and crew that work so hard to make these pieces. So yeah, if this is something you're interested in seeing, let me know down in the comments, or if you've already seen something like this, let me know.